Hi, welcome to the Ambient iPad. Let's make some music. I spent this last week creating a bunch of new patches for Moog Model D, which is their Minimoog app. I really encourage anyone who doesn't already own this app to buy it, even if you have one of the Minimoog clones. It's a classic, and particularly if you're trying to learn synthesis, it's all laid out for you right there on one panel. And it's just a really, really good app for basses, for leads. You can even layer things for pads. And so I was creating a bunch of patches, and I got kind of to 4, and I was like, oh, I could have Fugue Machine, which is a bit of a sequencer app. Not a bit, it is a sequencer app. Trigger each of the individual patches that I created. So that's what we're going to do today. So first thing, I have a blank instance of apeMatrix open. Let's add Fugue Machine first. Connect and show. So if you haven't used Fugue Machine before or aren't used to it, essentially creates fugues. I mean, it's a 4-part sequencer. You can create the sequences yourself. There's a bunch of presets too, which are actually really good. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to pick one. Borderlands is good. The good thing about Fugue is with the 4 parts, you could have the 4 parts triggering one synth, or you can have them triggering 4 different synths. I mean, you can layer beyond that. Let me turn that one on because I am going to use all these. Turn them on, turn them off. And you just go through and you can change the tempo, you can change how it starts, the octave, the pitch, etc. So there's a lot of capabilities with this particular app. So what I want to do, though, is set this up first from a MIDI perspective, and then we'll start adding in the Moogs. I'll either speed this up or edit some of this out because it can take a bit of time. So one interesting thing about Fugue Machine is you can pick the keys. We'll start in C minor, but we'll go in later and change that. So you can go into the settings, and here you can determine the different playheads, which is what they call each of the individual 4 sequences that you can have here. And so I'm just going to kind of go in order. We'll have playback head on channel 1, playback head on channel 2, playback head 3, channel 3, you get the idea. So we're just using the 4, obviously. That's all you get. And what I will have to do too is go into the MIDI matrix within apeMatrix to set up each of the Moog instances to be fired by the sequencer on that respective channel. So what I'm going to do here is, let's close this up. Let's add in our 4 instances of Model D. Connect and show. We'll just do these one at a time. Like I said, I do have a bunch of patches. One thing I need to do is I need to go and read up a little more about Minimoog, where I can save my patches, because they just saved into the bank that I was in, which isn't really where I want them. Yeah, so here we go. So here's the 4. And I think, well, the first one will be an ARP. So we've got that. Let's get the second one going. Again, if necessary, I'll edit or speed through this. Okay, so we have each set up. Before I forget, let me assign them all to the right channel. So right now, the internal keyboard for it's playing all of them. And actually, let's go one. We'll go through them one by one so you can hear. So here's the ARP. All right, and this is the bass. So we use that for the bass. This I call triangle square because it's based on a square wave. Kind of another bassy line, but I believe you can always play with the octave in Fugue Machine to raise it up if it's too low. Didn't have to do that. And then the squelchy sound. Wow, I'm squelchy. There, so that's our 4 sounds. We'll need to assign each of these to Fugue Machine here. All right, and now we need to go into the filtering for each one. Actually, I think it's, whoops, no, I think it's this way, yes. And then we go into the filtering. So we need to set this for, let's say, none, and then channel 1. So that's done. Second one will be channel 2, and so on. So it'll match the playheads or the individual sequences within Fugue Machine. And then finally the fourth instance, which none clears it, and then we pick 4. All right. So we could actually hit play right now, and something will happen in theory. Let's see here. Let's close that out. And let's hit play on apeMatrix. Right now, nothing. And then, all right, so there's our first one. There's the ARP. Let me make this bigger so I get the adjustments on the bottom here. Oh, which I need to choose that for. That was my mistake. Actually, the overall tempo is way too fast. Let's really slow this down. Still too fast. Now let's try 78. See where that lands us. All right, and then second slot is what we're going to use as a bass. Maybe a little too high. Yes. Let's go down to 1 octave. All right, let's turn that off. And then we have what was the kind of square wave. Yeah. So as you can see, the playheads can go the opposite way too. Over here under style, so you can change which way you want it to go. Let's just keep it to the default right now, which was going from right to left. All right, so you get the idea of that sound. And finally, that squelchy wah sound that we're going to have just playing underneath, or burbling underneath. So I do have some effects on the patches. This app does give you, you get an ARP, obviously, and you can play around with the delay. So I've already set these up kind of the way I wanted them in isolation. We'll have to hear how they sound like when they're together. Because I was just playing the patches on a keyboard, I didn't set them up in a sequence or anything. So now I'd like to add some effects. Let's go to the second matrix to do that. And what we'll do here is we'll add like a compressor. And I've been getting into using the Caelum Audio Smoov. This is one of the few apps where I actually like the default sound, the default patch, because it's pretty much settings I would typically use. And for ratio, I'm a 2:1 to 3:1. That's typically what I use. That's what I use for the bass, and I'm just comfortable with that. I do want to raise the knee a little here, and so we've got that. Let's send that to bus A, and I believe we would be sending that to bus A. And now I'd also like a reverb, and I want to use Blackhole. Not because I want that big expansive Blackhole sound, but I've been finding for my music that Blackhole is actually a very flexible reverb, way more flexible than I would have thought when I bought it, because of the mix knob. And actually one of the default sounds, Blackhole, the mix is really low. So the reverb itself is not overpowering when all the sounds are playing, but when there's space or you turn a sound off, bring a sound in, you can really hear it on the tail. So it adds a lot of nice spaciousness, but because the mix is somewhat low, and actually I'm going to move this up a little because it's a little too low, you really get the fundamental sound still comes through, and you don't lose that in this wash of reverb. So we'll send that to B, we'll send that to B. So let's go back to the first matrix, And let's open up Fugue Machine. Okay, that's much better. A little more subtle. And we were going to potentially change the key. Let's go to F. F minor. Let's see what kind of modes we have here. Oops. Let's go to Dorian. Let's see, here we go. All right, let's stick with that F Dorian. That should work. I'm going to turn everything off. Let's do a, we'll start again now that we have the levels, and we'll do more of a live mix performance of bringing some of the parts in and out. Let's see how that goes. So another piece that utilizes just one synth, in this case the Moog Model D, their Minimoog app, 4 instances of that triggered by the 4 different sequences or playheads within Fugue Machine. I also use the Smoov compressor and the Blackhole reverb on a low mix setting so that you can get some of the spaciousness between the notes, but that fundamental sound still comes through. If you liked what you see, please consider liking this video or subscribing to this channel, and good luck with your own music.